Hello, so today we are going to do this problem called sum of even numbers after queries. So the problem says, this is part of Leetcode daily challenge. The problem says we get an array of numbers and an array of queries. And the queries contain both a value and an index. And what we want to do with these is basically take the number at that position and add value to it. And then what we want is for each query, we want to print the sum of the even values of the numbers. So that's what we want to return. And basically we'll put, for each query, we'll put the sum in the in an answers array, and we will return that. Okay, so let's take a look at this example here. So we have this array, and the first query, for example, the index is 0 and the value to add is 1, so we add that to here, and so that will end up with 2, 2, 3, 4. And so we add the sum of all of these, and we end up with of all of the even values. By the way, the sum one's just the even values. And if we take a look at the second one, the index is 1, we want to add -3, so that will become this, and so the sum of even value is 2 plus 4. And you can see here we have 8 and 6, and we do the same thing for the rest. So it's pretty straightforward, right? Now how can we solve it? The brute force way to do it would be to go through all the queries, right? And then for each query, take the index and value and just do the exact operation, and then traverse the numbers again after the modification, and then add each even value to the sum, and then add the sum, right? But that would be like O of Qn, right? Because so that would be like O of Qn, with Q the number of queries and N the number of elements in the array, right? So that's not good, because if you look here at the constraint 10 to the power of 4 for queries and 10 to the power of 4. So if we do multiplication, that would be too big, right? Okay, so let's see how we can solve it. So here we have this array, right? So we have this array here. Let's see how we can do that. So we can definitely just keep a running sum, right? So first, just initially grab the sum of all the even numbers. So that would be 2 and 4, 6, right? And then we'll need to go through the queries. And the queries will be value and index, right? Let's call it queries like this. So for example here, 1, 0, which means for this index, 0, 1, 2, 3. So for this index 0, because this is the index and this is the val, we want to add 1. And you can see what happens here, right? 1 plus 1 equal to 2, so it became even. So that's one of the cases. So basically the cases are the number was odd before, but after the query, but with query it becomes even, right? So for this number, what does it mean? We just need to add it to s, right? And it becomes 8, and then add that to our result. And so in this case, what we need to do is just, so if the number was before odd and it became even, just add it to sum. And then that would be what we add to the result. Now let's take a look at another case. So the second case happens here, where we want to add -3 to position 1, and we get this. So you can see the number was even, but it became odd. Okay, so this is our second case. Okay, so what is case 2? Number was even, became odd. So what should we do here? We should definitely remove this, right? Because it just became odd. It's no longer 2, so we need to remove it from our running sum, because we are still counting it here. But since -1 is odd, we shouldn't add it. We should just subtract this one, right? So that's what will give us 6. So in this case, we will just what should we do here? We should just subtract number before initial number, right? Not -1, but 2, from our running sum s, and then add s to the answer. Now, what are other cases? So we have add to even. So we handled add to even, right? And now we handled also even to add. We may other cases are add to add. So the number was add, and it's still add after the query. Do nothing, right? So here nothing. The number was even, and now it's still even with the query. Now this one is interesting because that means it was part of the sum, but we need to replace with the new value. And so here we just need to do s minus the old value, right? Because it was counted as part of s, and we need to do s plus the new value. So subtract the old one, add the new one, right? So this is a good class of problems where we do case-by-case analysis, right? But like I don't like us like to do like all of these 5 cases, right? So let's kind of reduce this into a simple implementation, okay? So let's see where do we need to do anything. So for add to add, we don't need to do anything, right? So no, don't worry about this. So if they are both add, we don't need to do anything. Now, you can see here, if it's add to even, let me actually write this here. So if it's add to even, that means we need to do s plus new value. Add to even, yeah, plus new value. If it's even to add, we need to subtract the old value, right? And here we need to do both. So you can see actually we can kind of reduce this down to only one implementation, which is if the old value is even, which means we are in this case or this case, in both cases we need to subtract it, right? Which means we need to do s minus old value, right? And s, oh, by the way, initially is the sum of all a in the array for a even, right? That's the initial value of s, right? Initially, we just grab the sum of all the elements. Now, when the result after applying the query is even, we add the value. But if it's add, we don't do anything. So you can see that applies to this case. So you can see that applies to this case even, we add the value, the new value. And if it's even here, we add the new value. If it's add, we do nothing. We just subtract the old value, but we do nothing with the new value, right? Which makes sense. We want to only sum the even values. So in this case here, if the new value, is even, we want s plus old value, a new value, sorry. We want to add the new value. It's what we are doing here. What we are doing in this case here. So s plus new value. Okay? And of course, for each query, we want to add to our result array, we want to add s. Right? Now we just need to kind of replace the old value and new value with these values. So remember, this would be for a query, for a val and index in the query, right? So here, old value is just the number before doing the modifications. So this would be just the number. Let me write it down. So this would be just the number. Let's call it a instead of nums. So that would be a at index. And then here we do the modification to apply the query plus val. And now it's the new value. And so this here means this is the new value, right? And that's pretty much all there is to it. So I want to highlight that this problem is an example of a case-by-case analysis. And so for this kind of problem, definitely do the case-by-case analysis, but also if there are a lot of cases, try to think what is the common between them and how can you come up with a smaller, easier to implement solution, right? Okay, so that's pretty much it. Now let's write this down and make sure it passes test cases. Okay, so let's implement the solution that we just mentioned. So first we need the sum, And so that would be the sum of all of the initial sum of all of the even values. And so A for A in A. So I'll modify this to be A and this to be Q just for easy to write. And this would be if A, actually let's leave it maybe, yeah, just for clarity. So for A in numbers, if A is even, right? And then we need to do our result that we will return at the end here. And we need to go through the queries, which are value and index in query. And we want to check if the old value is even, which is this. This is just what we saw in the overview. Then we want to subtract it. And then we want to apply the query. So this would be a plus value, right? And then we want to check if the new value is even. If it is, we want to add it to the sum. And that's pretty much it. And then here we want to add to res this sum here. And that should be it. Now let's run this. Okay, so this should be queries here. And this needs to be numbers. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so that looks good. Let's submit. Okay, so that passes test cases. In terms of time complexity here, so if we consider Q to be the length of queries, that would be O of Q here, right? And we are doing but we are doing here O of N operation as well, right? So overall it's O of N plus Q. And in terms of space, we are using just this S extra array, otherwise we are using nums. But we also have this result array. And so overall it's just O of N space, right? Actually it's O of Q space, because res length is Q, the number of queries. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this problem. Please like and subscribe, and see you on the next one. Bye.